I think we got there in the end, guys. Looks like everything's live. In which case, welcome once again to the Toronto Beer Podcast. Oh, I don't like this at all. My Instagram camera looks like poop right now. Let me see if I can get my Gorilla Pod slightly. Well, it's crooked, but at least now it doesn't look like I'm getting that classic when you accidentally put your phone into can't even think straight right now. Reverse, and you thought you were taking a picture of like your shoes, but it turned out you were taking a picture of your fat looking chin. I think we can all relate to that. Oh, and I've just noticed I'm still wearing my bathrobe. How embarrassing. Well, not if you're listening to the podcast. You had no idea. I could have just kept them. There are 2 people watching on YouTube right now who are aware of it. Look, it's got squid all over it. No, octopuses. Octopuses all over my my bathrobe. I just, damn it, accidentally yanked my headphone cable out. What a mess, guys. What an absolute mess. But here we are. This episode not brought to you by Meundies, but I am wearing Meundies. I got to tell you, this is a pretty comfortable robe. My beloved family bought this for me, and it's comfy. You might even say, bro, I'm comf. Anyway. Yeah, one of the people on YouTube pointed out octopussies, if you ask me. So anyway, here we go. We're back for another week. I have something on my nose. I'm not looking live. This is disgusting. It's like a piece of dead skin. Don't worry, I got it. It's gone now. Ha! This is some good podcasting material. So what everyone wants to have on their podcast is me describing things they can't see. So let's continue with that tradition. Tonight, I got to tell you guys, I'm drinking another dark beer, like a black beer. It's actually called a Black Lager, Schwarzbier, if you prefer, if you sprechen Sie Deutsch, which I don't, but I can say that in a probably pretty poor accent. Any German listeners out there want to confirm that? Say, Chris, even though you have a Dutch last name, your German is awful. But anyway, that's what we're having tonight. Little known fact, you might not have heard of this if you're not in the beer scene, social media, but we're a friend of mine, Stephen Beaumont, and some others are working to try and make this thing called Flagship February. And it's, if I recall, the idea was a lot of, come on, guys, you know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to you. You're out there. You want your little lactose cloudy IPA, and a little s'more marshmallow sour cherry black Berliner Weiss. Your what else? Oh, I saw a beer one time they put cheeseburgers in, like 200 cheeseburgers right in the brew tun. Can you believe that, eh? Not for me. No, thank you. Anyway, the point of Flagship February was to recognize and acknowledge the fact that most brewers make a flagship beer and it's actually generally pretty good. And it generally gets overlooked because people are like, oh, what's new? What's cool? What's sour? What's funky? What's in the barrel? What's smoky? What's whatever? Stop, at least for the month of February. It's Flagship February. And as such, for the sake of the cameras, we've got a beautiful bottle of Cornerstone Black Lager from, I was going to say my friends at Black Lab Brewing. I'm sure the people at Black Lab Brewing are friendly and wonderful, but I must confess, if you recall, I mentioned in the first episode of season 4, a lot of breweries have opened since I went on hiatus, and Black Lab Brewing would be one of those. Actually, they might have been opening right around the end. I don't know. But anyway, despite the fact that in terms of my workplace, which is at Leslie and Commissioners, Black Lab is 200 meters from where I work. I actually hadn't made it in because it's on Eastern, and I ride my bike along the bike path, which is not on Eastern. But anyway, I made the effort, went in there on my way home from work today, got this fresh. In fact, I was suggested to also grab, I got an alt beer, like a dry hopped alt beer. I'm excited about that. But also, it wasn't even on the board yet, but they just made a Kit Kat stout. Speaking of beers that have crazy things in them, it was a stout and they put actual Kit Kats in it, which sounds delicious if you ask me. After just bagging on crazy things in beer, I think Kit Kat in this beer is a pretty good idea if you ask me. Anyway, I digress. But I got the flagship. They apparently have two beers that they would kind of identify as flagship, and this bad boy right here, which if you're listening at home, I am showing to the cameras. Lovely labeling on this. I really am a fan of that. The Black Lab Brewing, Cornerstone. Pardon me. I was reading it backwards on my screen and completely threw me. Looks fabulous. 5% ABV, 20 IBU. It's a 500 ml bottle. I love a 500 ml bottle, if I'm honest with you guys. I just think it's a good volume. We haven't done this yet this season. Got the old metal bottle opener because this is a bad boy. It's got a crown cap. Beautiful little Black Lab sitting like who's a good boy on the cap. So we'll pop that. Hear that? That's real Foley, guys. That's the sound of me lining it up. Here we go. Ready? Hopefully it doesn't explode all over my lap while I'm on live Instagram and YouTube. Here we go. Oh no, beautiful. It's perfect. All right, let's do a pour now again. Instagram, I'm looking at you right now down the barrel. Gosh, I hope this glass is clean. I took it off the shelf a minute ago. It's probably not. This could be disaster. Are we getting that? I wonder if I got that delightful glug, 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 glug. On the mic. Who knows? Who knows? What do we got here? So, Schwarzbier, Black Lager. I mean, it looks right because it's black. If you're listening at home, this beer is black. Got to make sure I have it on both my cameras here. I'm kind of behind putting it in front of my face to get it on the camera. It's probably not a bad thing. A gentleman commented on Twitter that my podcast was back, and I appreciated the exposure. Thank you, Dave. And he said, I have a voice for radio. And I said, and a face for one, too. Got to be careful with that joke, kids. It's an antique. Anyway, once again, I don't have a bright light, so we're going to have to do this maybe just with my screen. Definitely the very bottom of my glass, I can see this is a brown beer that's very black, maybe a little crimson. Gosh, I wish I'd remembered to bring a flashlight because my light in my room is pretty dull. No, it's brown. It's definitely a nice dark brown, ranging to black beer. Now, if you're not familiar with the Black Lager, you would be forgiven if you took a sip of one and mistook it for a stout or a porter. There are differences, and certainly a Cicerone or BJCP person should probably be able to tell the difference blind. At this point in my travels, I probably wouldn't because I haven't been drinking a lot of that type of beer, but I am about to try one. Obviously roasty malts because it's black. A lot of dark malts in it. They can have a little smoky quality to them. It's certainly not required, but the nature of the malts is that they can impart some smoke. The usual suspects: burnt sugar, charred stuff, charred malt. Oh gosh, I hate doing this live. Anyway, I should make notes. But the key with the Black Lager, obviously, is it's a lager, whereas stouts and porters generally are ales. And if you are new to this game, what you need to know here, different type of yeast acts in similar but slightly different way. And lager is actually the German verb meaning to age, to lager it, which means that the beer after it had fermented gets aged. And part of what happens is the yeast continues working on a lot of the byproducts from the brewing, which impart taste. So a classic English ale strain of yeast might give the taste of we say tree fruit or like apples or pears. You might get an apple-y quality out of an English mild or a bitter. But a lager yeast, when allowed time to lager, to age at a cool temperature, a lot of those byproducts that give those tastes get broken back down. So we talk about lagers as having a very clean taste. You don't get much yeast characteristic from a lagered beer. but I mean, this is a beautiful example. When you say lager to people, they generally think of like what I call a cold yellow beer, like a North American style lager, or a European style one. But think like Stella or Bud. Those are all what I would call cold yellow beers, and they're lager beers. And for a lot of people, that's what they think of when they think of lager. But lager can run the gamut. And I actually mentioned earlier that stouts and porters are generally ales. One of the exceptions there would be a Baltic porter, which is a very specific style. It's not dissimilar from an imperial stout, but a Baltic porter generally is made with a lagered yeast and gets a bit of time in the fermenter to just chill out a bit. But anyway, I digress. I'm holding this beer in my hand, this flagship beer from my friends at Black Lab Brewing, and I haven't even nosed it yet. So let's get to that. We'll do a little bit more Foley work here. Oh, that Foley was my glasses hitting my microphone. I'm very sorry. Let me try that again. Oh, for fuck's sakes. Oh, I'm going to have to put an E on this episode now. Last try. No, but... Oh, so stupid. It smells delicious. It's definitely burnt sugar, very, very charred malts is the thing I get off the nose right out of the gate. So let's have a sip. I like this. Sorry, people watching at home. I meant to trim my mustache today. Oh, and you can see my nail polish. Isn't that nice? And I didn't, so I'm getting a lot of head in my mustache, which sounds dirty, but we've already got an E on this episode, so who the fuck cares? Anyway, yeah. Okay, the thing I want to say right out of the gate about this beer, don't be scared by the color, especially if you kind of tend to think, oh, stouts and porter, that's too big and complex a beer for me. This has got a really nice roasted quality to it. A bit of charred malt, almost touching on like burnt toast, but that sounds unattractive, but in this context, it's not. That's that little bit of smoke I was talking about. But the body on this beer is just delightful. It manages to be very creamy and smooth, but with very little weight, which is an unusual thing to say. Typically, when we talk about beers having a good mouthfeel, we're talking, an oatmeal stout has a really good mouthfeel because that oatmeal really adds some body to the beer and it makes it velvety, and the bubbles are so small and they're just drilling up. And I touched my microphone again. I'm sorry. This has this incredibly smooth, velvety feeling, but the beer itself is still quite light-bodied. It's fabulous. I really like this beer. Good golly, I like this beer. I'm regretting the amount of time I've not been going into Black Lab and buying this beer. This is really good stuff. Again, lager, super clean finish. It just leaves a little whisper of sort of smoke and charred malt on my tongue. Not pronouncedly bitter. And in fact, I mean, I think I said that it was 20 IBU is what the bottle said. That's what it says, which is the International Bittering Unit. It's a measurement of how bitter a beer is. Our IPAs, 50, 60, maybe 70, 80 if it's a double. So 20 is pretty low still, but it's got some hop bitterness to it. But bitter malts or bitter charred malts impart bitterness as well. Sorry, live. This is live, guys. It happens, and I'm not editing out of the podcast, so just get used to it. We got an E, and I'm burping into the microphone. It happens. 20 IBU, not super high, but with the bitterness that the malts will impart, there's a kind of tannic, almost dryness to the finish, but it's not stringent. It's not biting at all. It's just gently bitter. It's really nice. I hesitate to say this because it's not coffee-like. I'm not getting much coffee out of the malt on this personally. If you have, cool. But I didn't. But it's got a quality like coffee of that. Just not bitingly bitter, but just a nice bitter finish to it. But in a gentle way. Lovely beer. I would recommend this one any old time. I really like this beer a lot. So what are we going to eat with it? Well, you know me. I'm going to tell you to eat some barbecue with it, but let's not do that. That's a little too obvious, and we've done that twice. I'm also not going to tell you to have this with dessert because, to be honest with you, I don't think it wouldn't be bad with dessert, but I don't think in the way that the previous, the Sweeties and Cuties, had such a chocolatey, orangey quality to it. It was unavoidable. You could obviously have this with something chocolatey, and it would be lovely. But that's not where I'm going to tell you to go. In fact, here's what we're going to do with this. Okay, we've got just a little bit of smoke, a very, relatively speaking, light body. It's not a very dense beer. So with that little bit of bitterness, it's almost a little refreshing on the finish, and certainly has the effect of being palate cleansing. So I've made this recommendation with a similar style beer before, but it was long enough ago. I don't feel bad redoing this. What you're going to need to do, you're going to need to look up an Indonesian dish if you eat beef. This one's for you. It's called beef rendang. I think the general Canadian, pardon me, I'm so self-centered, English spelling, Rendang, beef rendang. This is this slow cooked beef, like curry or like stew, where you use pretty gnarly bits of beef, but they just cook for so long. It becomes almost like a pulled beef, but in like a sauce. And the sauce is generally a bit spicy, but very rich. And I think and also because it cooks so long, you actually end up getting a bit of char to it because it kind of cooks into the pot a little bit. I think that would go really good with this because some of the smoky quality, that whisper of smoke, would draw out some of the smoky quality in that beef. But then this very rich, fatty, really sauce against this beer, which has a nice weight, or not weight to it, but like creaminess to it, but like virtually no weight. It would be a really interesting juxtaposition. I think it's the way to go. You heard it first here. For a cheese, I would almost want to go with a smoked cheese and try and pull more of the smoke out of the beer. Just off the top of my head, there's I can't remember what brand it is, but you get it at the at Loblaws. I saw it probably at your Sobeys or whatever too. It's a UK cheese, and I've got a feeling it might be Scottish or Welsh. Comes in these pucks that are like wax coated, and they do one that's a beechwood smoked. We had it about a week ago now. Really nice, and the beechwood smoke, not aggressively smoked, so sharp aged cheddar with just a nice kind of low smoky quality. And I think that would be, I think that'd be a winner. But you know what I also say, you can eat any old cheese with a beer and you're probably going to enjoy yourself. So don't be too worried about it, but do head over to Black Lab Brewing. So they are on Eastern. I wonder if they have their address on the bottle. Yep. 818 Eastern Avenue. Just past the Subway and the car wash. That's the Subway sandwich shop, mind you, kids. There's no Subway on Eastern because we don't have that kind of foresight as a city. But there is a Subway sandwich shop. You're also right across from the Loblaws, the north side of it, so you can check that out. Black Lab, they have a lovely tap room. I didn't actually go right into the tap room, but I know that actually a place where I buy a lot of fly fishing supplies from, Drift Outfitters do fly tying events there. So they obviously have space and tables. I've seen the photos. Looks delightful. Yeah, it looked like 6 or 8 beers available when I was in there tonight, of a variety of types. Really positive. Like I said, I picked up the alt beer as well as the Kit Kat. So I'm going to be stoked to try those out in the next little while. But yeah, head in. And of course, if the name didn't tip you off, Black Lab Brewing, they're a dog friendly place. So if you got a pooch and you want to take them in for a drink, they're totally cool with that. Much like our friends up at Left Field. So get your dog, take them for a walk, head over to Black Lab. Especially if your dog's a Black Lab, let's be honest, that'd be pretty wicked. Yeah, get some of this into you. Beautiful beer, really, really good stuff. I'm a big fan of this now. Very sorry it took me so long to get in there, Black Lab, but cheers, and I appreciate that. So I'm gonna have another sip, and then we're gonna talk about what's coming down the pipe. I mean, first off, should talk about the weekend past because it was a very, very important game of the year. My connection on YouTube's unstable. Oh, it's stable again. I'm back. Don't worry, YouTube. We're still here. Anyway, I was saying, as you all know, it was Sunday. It was a pretty big day for sports because, of course, France and England played each other in the Six Nations, and France throttled England. It was beautiful. Add to that Wales's victory the day before with the bonus point for the tries. Wales top of the table. England looked like crap, and it's not too often I cheer for the French team, but when they play England, every day of the week, you'll hear me cheering. Allez le bleu, I think is what you say. Means something about blue. And so yeah, huge game on Sunday. I know you were probably all watching it Sunday morning, and then probably had a good early bed that night because of all the excitement. Sunday morning, certainly that was what I got up to. But remember, Six Nations is on again this weekend coming up, as I've mentioned before. I think we show it down at Balmy Beach Club in Toronto. You can look us up online, easy to find on the socials or on the web. Come on down. It's $20 to get in. Proceeds of that go to our junior rugby program, which I coach and I'm very passionate about, which is why I'm talking about it on a podcast about beer. And but yeah, great opportunity to go in. I was drinking some Radical Road beer. That's the name of the beer. It's just their cold yellow beer, and I gotta tell you guys, it's pretty solid cold yellow beer. I enjoyed a couple of those. Had a couple of Guinness too, because it's rugby. Actually, on Sunday, I didn't actually watch the France-England game. I was just getting the updates on my phone because I was in church. But I went before church to help sell the tickets. And with about 15 minutes to go before I had to go to church, I decided, you know what a guy needs before going to church is a pint of Guinness. So I necked me a pint of Guinness and then headed out to church. Had a good old time. Oh, golly, this episode's getting long. I'm already over 20 minutes. Okay, what else is happening? I made a note. But it's on my phone. Okay, I'm going to have to do this from memory. Okay. On February the 16th, Left Field Brewery celebrates 7th anniversary. Guys, happy 7th birthday. I remember when you guys took over the space on Wagstaff, but more than that, I remember when Mark and I used to make a homebrew YouTube show, which you can look up. There's a couple of episodes called Brewmance. And we would be making beer in his basement, and there was this chalkboard sign that said Left Field, and I thought, isn't that a cute little name for his little homebrewing endeavor? But it turned out it was a lot more than a homebrewing endeavor. So so proud of you guys and so amazed by the amazing things you guys are doing. So anyway, February, I think 16th, from 11 till 7 at the brewery on Wagstaff. Easy to find, easy to look up online. Fan Appreciation Day. There's going to be beers and casks and prizes and giveaways, and there's like a food truck, and I don't know what else. Probably some really wicked cool stuff, because if I've learned anything in 7 years, it's Left Field throws a really, really fun party. So I would highly recommend getting down there. I would recommend getting down there early because their events tend to draw lineups. And I would suggest that you bring your dog, because we were talking about that. And Left Field loves dogs. Actually, maybe don't. There's going to be so many people. Unless your dog's huge, it's going to get stepped on. And if it's huge, it's taking up space and not drinking beer. Leave the dog at home. Make up to the dog by taking it to Black Lab Brewing later that day. How's that? February, I think 16th, 11 till 7. Left Field Brewery, Fan Appreciation Day. You got to check that out and give them as much love and props as you can, because they really deserve it. Really, really good people. We all always love Left Field, obviously. So we got that. We got Six Nations. I might be out, guys. I think I'm out. That's all I got in terms of events. So, not a lot to put on the calendar. You should be at both. I expect, the last episode was listened to by, I think, 70 odd people, which is amazing. Again, not really promoting the heck out of it yet. So it's great that that's happening. I would expect to see all 70 of you at both events, or I will be heartbroken. No, it's not really true. But anyway, come to those. It'll be a good time. Check out Black Lab on Eastern. Lovely, lovely place. Great beer. Fantastic beer. Super happy to do that. Check out the hashtag. What was it? Flagship February? I think that's the hashtag. I don't know. You'll find it. It's not hard. Flagship February. It's an alliteration. It's beautiful. And yeah, remember to support your local brewery, not just by purchasing their beer, but by supporting their flagship. That's what put them on the map, probably. And it's often overlooked, and they're generally very, very, very good beers. So get in there, get a flagship. Oh, look at this. My phone's almost dead. It's definitely time to go, guys. So I will be back this time next week, Monday evening, sometime after 9, drinking something cool. It'll be another flagship because it's February. If you've got a suggestion you want to see a flagship, throw it on my way. Hit me up on the socials or in person if you see me delivering the mail in your neighborhood or something like that, and we'll see what we can do. Okay. I think that's it, guys. Until next time, I want you to be safe out there. Take care of each other. I was reminded in a movie my kids chose the other night, when given the choice between being right and being nice, choose nice. Be nice to each other, guys. It's a hard world out there, and we're all walking a tough beat. Take care of each other.